people who could not make it. Right. Good morning, Emily. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. It's bright and early this Monday morning, and I thank you all for coming. So this is a Vaxelis transition training, and it's for back office caregivers who administer vaccines to children. The class shouldn't be much more than 30 minutes long, and we'll have an opportunity at the end for questions and discussion. But if you feel like you have any questions in between the slides, feel free to either type it in the chat box or raise your hand and let us know that you have a question and we'll call on you. So most of you are already familiar with Teams, but we'll just go over a couple quick points for you. We all understand that the top here is all the icons, the microphone button is right here. So make sure that you're on mute unless you're actually talking or have a question. That way it reduces the background noise and disruptions. Right next to it is the video camera. We usually don't use that in this class, but feel free if you want to pop in a candid picture. Right next to that are 3 dots. You can click on those 3 dots and it'll kind of give you some setup information if you're having problems with your audio or your microphone. The one we'll use the most here is the chat bubble. Obviously, we've already started our chat, so most of you are very comfortable and familiar with that. Right next to it is an emoji. He's got a little hand up. You can use that to give us a thumbs up or a heart if you agree with a statement that's being made. There's also an option to kind of raise your hand for a question. If I see you have your hand up, I will try my best to call on you, answer that question, and then you just click it again to lower your hand. If you're having any technical difficulties, feel free to call in for audio only. You can still see everything on your screen by your login, but you can actually access your microphone and audio that way. And for those of you who are sharing a computer and audio, you can put it on speaker, but make sure it's on mute as well so that you don't have any feedback. If anybody has any problems with audio or a microphone and needs a little bit of help, please just pop it in the chat window there and we will make sure that we can try to help you as much as possible. So for those of you attending just now, if you have anybody sharing your computer and audio and they have not logged in separately, please make sure that you add their name into the chat so we can capture the attendance and give them credit for the class. So for every meeting, Peace Health has a reflection. We do that for meetings and classes. And today's reflection is anyone who does anything to help a child in his life is a hero to me. And that was well said by Mr. Rogers. I'm sure a lot of us can remember him. I really want to hit point that it is a challenging thing to have to give vaccines to a young child. We have a lot of parents who have anxiety over it, and this is why I'm so super excited to present this vaccine and review it with you all so that we can see how it impacts the care we're going to provide to our children and families, and it's going to make it a little easier on you as well. So I have a little bit of feedback somewhere. I'm not sure who. Just want to make sure that everybody is on mute. Even if you're on your telephone, mute your phone. Perfect. Thank you so much. So what is Vaxelis? Vaxelis really is just another pediatric combination vaccine, but this one actually offers 6 components. So diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, hepatitis B, and Hib. So it's to be administered as part of a 3-dose series at the 2, 4, and 6-month well-child visits. And it can be given in children as early as 6 weeks old all the way through age 4, so up to their 5-year birthday. It can be ordered in a pre-filled syringe or a single-dose vial, which is kind of nice for storage issues. So I think a lot of people order the pre-filled syringe for ease. Vaxelis will replace the Pediarx or the Pentacel if you use it. And moving forward, that will reduce the amount of pokes that the child receives in their total series. And I'm sure that you probably already have a lot of experience with parents who have that apprehension and want to reduce the amount of pokes or change the vaccines to alternate schedules. And so hopefully that will alleviate some of that angst. One thing I do really want to point out here is that the Vaxelis, the age range is different. It can only be given up to the age of 5. Currently, the Pediarx can be given up to their 7th birthday. So we just need to be mindful when making this transition that if you're doing catch-up schedules and catch-up doses, that the age is a little bit different. By giving a thumbs up, does anybody in the clinics now currently give Pentacel? Well, moving forward, we'll have an opportunity to kind of review Pentacel just briefly, but I wanted to see if anybody was on a different schedule than the Pediarx that we are all pretty much familiar with. So the most common resource availability we have to all of our caregivers is the education site. We can find the Vaxelis job aid there. So I'm going to just kind of show you really quickly the education site and some of its features. Over here at the top left-hand corner, you can get education team contact information, the location list of all the clinics, a menu of services, and you can see that we have a lot of quick links to high fives and CDC and your electronic resource libraries, handbooks, resources, but over here where I've highlighted, we have the training materials and the job aids and toolkits. So those of you who are not familiar with the education website, you can go to Crossroads. You want to select your home site, which would be Sacred Heart for most of us. And if you go down to Peace Health, choose home, you'll see that the education site's there. I am going to post a copy of the link in the chat box for you guys if you want to actually jump in there and add it to your favorites later. It's a very, very, very useful tool to have. So once you've clicked on training materials, the job aids and toolkits, you will come up to a place that you can type in the job aid or the toolkit that you're looking for. So I've kind of just given you a screenshot of what that looks like for familiarity. And then over here on the right is what the job aid will look like. I'm going to actually add the Vaxelis job aid link to the chat box as well. You can access these later, and it gives you just a little quick access, and you can print that off for your reference, as well as having access to it to the homepage on the education site. Feel free if you have any questions, stop me and we'll move forward with just a job aid. All we're going to do is just review this through the first 2 pages of it, and then we'll go over the schedule and have an opportunity to discuss it. So we've already addressed at the beginning that this is a 6-component vaccine. It's to be given in 1 injection at 2 months, 4 months, and 6 months of age, and it's an alternative to the Pediarx or Pentacel. We've also said that by the immunization schedule from the CDC, patients may actually receive an additional dose of the hepatitis B and or the polio, and per those guidance from the CDC, those are deemed safe. For those of you familiar with Pediarx already, you know that they do receive an extra dose of hepatitis B, and that hasn't been a problem, especially if it reduces the amount of injections we have to administer. So as standard for all vaccines, clinicians have to provide parent counseling at least for that first dose in this series. After that, per standing orders, if the patient meets all the standing order qualifications, the medical assistant can administer the vaccine in the rest of the series. So another thing that we really are moving forward with, the reason why we're having this training today is it's the beginning of the year 2022. All children born after January 1st, 2022, moving forward, we want to offer this vaccine to them. So Vaxelis will be offered at the 2-month visit for all babies born in 2022. However, we want to make sure that if they've started a series of Pediarx or Pentacel, that they finish that series. So we will still have Pediarx in the office to complete the series that the patient already has started. That just kind of keeps optimal efficacy and basically like components. Pediarx, we offer a 3-dose Hib in the series, whereas Vaxelis has the 4-dose Hib. So just keeping it as standard as possible will increase the optimal efficacy of the components. I'm not sure if everybody has it in their clinics. Moving forward, what I've heard from pediatrics management as soon as the patient comes in for their first 2-month well-child visit, they will be receiving this Vaxelis vaccine. So we have a couple more weeks before that is probably apparent. But if anybody has any questions, reach out to your management when to start the vaccine. You could also reach out to me in education if you have any questions. So I'm sure all of you are also familiar with Care Connect and how to order immunizations and look at the immunizations, but we'll review that really quick as well. By clicking your immunizations tab in Care Connect, you can see what vaccines the patient has received. By clicking on that specific segment, you can see when it was given and the type of vaccine it was, so that if they have any previous vaccine series, you would finish with that. Anybody have any questions about where to find immunizations, how to see what they've had before? Perfect. So ordering Vaxelis for the very, very first time, same as any medication or immunization that you would order. On the bottom left-hand corner of the Care Connect, you would add order and type in Vaxelis. So you're looking for this one here. What it looks like is DTaP, IPV, Hib, Hep B immunization, 0.5 mLs, aka Vaxelis. And you also could cross-reference the immunization code of IMM201.
Because you're not logged in it.
Pardon me?
I haven't started it yet. Oh, sorry.
Oh. Gotcha. Perfect. Okay. And then once you've actually ordered this, you can right-click on it and add it to your favorites, and then it'll be accessible in your favorites like all your other vaccines. One thing I do want to point out, when you order Vaxelis for the first time and you add it to your favorites, just be very careful moving forward that you're ordering Vaxelis or you're ordering Pediarx. They may look kind of similar, so just be mindful of that when you're finishing a series for a patient, that you're not accidentally adding Vaxelis and meaning to order Pediarx. So administration is pretty much exactly the same as any immunization you're giving in the clinic. I have a little bit of feedback here. Tiana, I think you have a little bit of feedback. Can you mute your phone? Give her just a second here. Okay, well, moving forward, administration is basically the same thing. You want to follow your 6 rights, 3 checks every single time for all administration processes. You're going to be giving it intramuscularly, the same place you would be giving your Pediarix, making sure that you're shaking the vial or the syringe before you're drawing it up so that it kind of has a uniform consistency. Infants younger than 1 year, we're using the anterolateral aspect of the thigh, which is what we currently use for the Pediarix. And it should not be combined or reconstituted with any other vaccine, which is pretty standard. Documentation, exact same thing as Pediarix. We're just kind of hitting some of those points. 3 checks of the 6 rights. You're going to make sure that you're going to finish your documentation in your exam room before leaving, so that it populates in your after visit summary. And then the last page of this job aid shows links to your additional resources. So we have here links to the Vaxelis manufacturer website, the pediatric vaccine schedule, what the current vaccine information sheet looks like, and some information on labels. So if you have a bunch of different vaccines that you have in your refrigerator, you may want to look at these labels. You could print them, laminate them, and just kind of put them in each compartment where your vaccines are kept. And it's a great little visual. It tells you what age range they're given, what's in the vaccine, and how it's given. This last link here gave you a little example of what it looks like. And then we'll just go through the links here really quick, the manufacturer website, the vaccine schedule,,, , etc. This is what our vaccine information sheets look like, exactly the same as what we currently use for Pediarx. You just have one more component in one vaccine, but you're still going to check the boxes here, the different components. You can add your rotavirus vaccine information sheet to that. And by clicking on the vaccine schedule, there is a Excel spreadsheet. There is 3 different tabs on it. There's the Pentacell, the Pediarx, as well as the Vaxelis. I'm only showing you the Vaxelis today, but by accessing that job aid, you can see the other 2 vaccine schedules if you're interested in either of those. So once again, we have the 2-month, 4-month, 6-month visit. Vaxelis is given, Prevnar is given, and rotavirus is usually given. So this will actually reduce the amount of vaccines that they receive at the 12-month, which I'm super excited about for you guys. Since it's a 4-dose Hib, they will actually get their last dose of Hib at the 15-month visit instead of the 12-month visit. So that puts them only at the 1, 2, 3, 4 vaccines at the 12 months, 5 if they're going to have the flu. I know, Jordan, it's so super exciting, right? It's going to be nice at 2 months, you're only giving 2 shots, 1 oral. 4 months, same, 6 months, and then you're reducing it at the 12 months. So where we get into a little bit of an alternative schedule for people that are not super familiar with Pentacell, at the 15-month, this is where they would get that extra polio dose if you use the Pentacell. My understanding is that is where most of the clinics are going to go because it once again reduces the amount of injections. At 15 months, they would be due for the DTaP as well as the Hib, and it's so much better just to go ahead and give them the extra polio for 1 poke instead of 2 separate pokes for the DTaP and the Hib. However, if the patients or parents decide not to do the combination or not wanting the extra polio, then you can definitely go with just a DTaP and a Hib here. The rest of your schedule pretty much looks exactly the same, but I'm super excited about it because not only are we reducing the injections at the 2-month, 4-month, 6 months, there's 1 less at 12 months, and then the 15, we already gave 1 injection. So if you offer that combination, they get more components, and then it's pretty complete. Anybody have any questions about that? What the schedule looks like? One thing I'm going to note to all of you guys, 15 months is quite a ways away from now. It'll be next year, so you may not be ordering your Pentacell yet. You're going to finish up what Pediarx you have in the office and what 3-dose Hib you have in the office. However, when you do start seeing Actib and Pentacell in your clinics, they must be reconstituted. So they're not available in pre-fill syringes. There is a diluent component and a vaccine component. However, the diluent has the Hib component in it, so you can't use just a saline or a diluent from another package. You have to use 2 components together. Sounds a little bit more work. However, you're thinking it's only happening once in that vaccine series for those patients. So only at 15 months will you have to worry about that reconstitution. You're right, Jordan. It's exactly like the Mendio. So for those of you who've been around a while, we used to have Actib a long, long time ago, and we'll probably end up tagging them together too to make sure people reconstitute them with the 2 components. More on that later. If you have any questions, please reach out to management or to the education team. We can provide a little more education if needed on that when it starts to roll out. However, like I said, I don't think it's really going to be an issue until next year when we start hitting the 15-month and we've went through all of our other vaccine. I'll give just a moment here for anybody who wants to type a message or come off mute and ask any questions while the schedule's up. Okay, well, moving right along, guys. This is one of the links from the job aid as well. The Vaxelis website is super awesome. I know, I am so super excited too, Angela. I'm happy for you guys. I wish I could have been there to take part in this because it's going to really make a difference in a lot of people's lives. That's so cool. The Vaxelis website, www.vaxelis.com, has some great parent resources, videos, dosage and administration information, frequently asked questions. So I totally recommend going to the website and checking it out. And one more thing I want to point out, another great resource, it's not attached to the job link, the job aid, sorry, the job link, same thing. I'm going to put a link in the chat box to the Oregon Health Authority Model Immunization Protocols website. This is something that a lot of clinics have printed and they have it as a resource. This offers information on vaccine components, schedules, catch-up schedules, minimum, maximum spacing for the vaccines. So as you can see here, it's a little small, but once you click on this link, it'll bring you right to the immunization protocols and it lists all the different components. So for Vaxelis, you could even go into HIB and it will tell you about the HIB component of the Vaxelis. You can go into the DTaP and it will show you all the different DTaP containing vaccines. For those of you who have this printed, I do want to mention to go ahead and update your printed documents because they added Vaxelis to all of the components in here. And it's something that you should periodically look into just to make sure you have the most up-to-date information. So what it looks like when you click on, for example, DTaP containing combo vaccines, there's like 9 pages, I believe, on this one, and I've highlighted where Vaxelis is on 3 of those pages. And it shows you the age range, how it's given, what's in the components. It shows you minimum spacing between doses. It shows you what ingredients are in there. So if patients have any questions about preservatives or anything like that, you can always reference these model immunization protocols. So I found those very useful when I was in the clinic, and I just wanted to share that for those of you who may not know about it. Anybody have any questions? So, like I said, this class really doesn't take that long. I mean, it's pretty straightforward for most people who have given Pediarx or combination vaccines already. I thank you all for your time, but I would love the opportunity for anybody to pop off mute and ask questions.
I guess I have a vaccine question. It's not Vaxelis
Sure.
exactly, but was it Daptocil? There used to be a DTaP that you can mix with the HIB at 15, with the ACT HIB at 15 months. Is that still a used practice?
We have not seen that in the clinics in a long time. I believe you are correct, but I'm not sure that Peace Health has ever offered Daptocil. If they have, it was long before my day.
Okay.
Anybody else? I know it's pretty early in the morning, right? And it's pretty straightforward, but please, if you think of something in the meantime, later on in the day, and you're like, oh, I wondered about this, shoot me a message. By all means, I'm more than happy to answer any questions as they arise. And as you start rolling it out in your clinics, we're available. So just pop us a message and we'd be more than happy to help. Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, that's all I have, guys. Thank you so much. I've recorded this, so feel free to reference it if you have any further questions.